welcome to my channel. So I wanted to talk to you today about words that you should ban from your vocabulary. I'm still working on these myself, but I just have seen such a huge change since I've started this journey of like being more positive about things and just looking at life through a different lens. Looking at everything as a growing experience and looking at everything through a growth mindset. I'm not going to lie to you, there was a few times where my husband and I were like, you know what, we're leaving California, we can't afford it here. You know, we don't want to stay here, California's too expensive, all the stigmas. And, you know, if you have a calling to go somewhere else, you should go. But for us, you know, we've thought about leaving our area because it's pretty expensive. But finally we got to the point where we're in a growth mindset where we're like, you know what? If we want to live here, we're going to make it. We're going to make it in California. We're going to make it in the place where we want to because that's what we want. So we're not giving up on our dreams and ourselves. So yes, maybe we have to work a little bit harder, a few more hours. You know, maybe we have to, you know, my husband's gone back to school and there's a lot of things we have to do to be able to get there. And right now we live in an apartment that people might consider really small. But at the same time, I'm 10 minutes away from the beach, if not less. And why do you need a big space when you have the world to go explore and be out in, you know? We don't spend that much time here. We're constantly out, not spending money, but just at parks, at the beach, like going places that we want to or that we love. We're close to everything, so we love it. And just being more positive and looking at everything as a growing experience is huge. And I think when you look at life in a different way, it makes you a more positive person. I think you radiate more positive energy and you just are able to shrug off so much negativity. And you're able to take things differently. When somebody says something to you and they mean it as a positive way, but you're in a negative space, and this has happened to me where I've said something to someone and I meant it like a nice way and they're in a negative place. So when you're in a negative place, everything somebody says to you or about you or anything is negative, and you're like, what do you mean? Like what? Like you get really defensive, and it's like, what's the point? Like I'm giving you a compliment, you know, like I don't understand what your problem is. And the problem is that they're in a negative state of mind. They're not happy. So they're looking for reasons to get upset. When you're in a positive mindset, there's things that will upset you. There's still times where I want to lose my stuff and I'm upset, but, you know, my mental, emotional breakdowns are way less. And I have to say, like, since we started eating better and, you know, cutting out dyes, processed foods, I have had so much less issues with, you know, of course it's everything together, working out and everything like that. I have not been sick this year. I usually get the stomach flu all the time. I have not gotten it to where I'm like throwing up or anything like that. I've been in a better state of mind and it's just a great feeling. So I want to share with you some words that I'm trying to cut out just because I think they're just so negative and I want to stop saying them. I don't want our kids to ever use these words. So I'm kind of working on myself and P to like take those out of our vocabulary and not let them, you know, be heard because they're negative. One is fat, F-A-T, fat. That word, when you're talking about somebody or yourself, is just the worst. I remember that some of my family members that were way thinner than I was, like I've said, I struggled, you know, I was not that healthy of a child. I ate unhealthy. I was not active. And my family members would look in the mirror and say like, oh, I'm so fat. I look so fat today. And I was young and I would see that. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they're fat, then I must be like ginormous and I'm not pretty. And, you know, all these things were in my head and they were wrong. But just from hearing somebody else say those words to themselves hurt me. Like that cut me, and I would never ever want our children to feel like that, or our nieces and nephews or anything. And fun fact, they don't use that word either. And there was an incident where some other kids were somebody put their middle finger up, and one of the children were like, oh my gosh, like that's a bad word, like that's the F word. And my one of my nephews was like, oh, I know what word. And he was dead serious. He doesn't even know the F word. Now, I'm not saying that our kids, P and my kids, will not know cuss words, because my dad cusses like crazy. I cuss like crazy, but I don't see it as an issue. I would rather my kids use positive words and cuss than use negative words and think that cuss words are bad, but these other words aren't. So that's one word that I think is really big and can be really negative and hurtful, not just to you. Even if you're not saying it to someone else, it can really hurt people. Like, it's big. And children and young adults are listening to that, and they apply it to themselves. When you're looking in the mirror and you're thinner than them, or they think you look better than them, and you say like, oh, I look so fat, they hear it and it hurts them. Another word is the word hate. I still use this word, like I said, I'm trying really hard not to, but I try to use dislike instead, because hate is just such a gross word. It is, when I hear kids say like, oh, I hate you, or oh, I hate that, or I'm like, my heart is like, ah, like, oh my gosh, like that is such a horrific word. It's more shocking to me than the F word when I hear a kid say it. Like, it just means such a bad thing. And if you don't like vegetables, say you don't like vegetables. If you don't like fruit, say you don't like them or you dislike them. But to say that you hate them is just so big. That is just a big thing to me. So that one is being worked on currently for me, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I hate when that happens, or oh, you know, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, don't say that. Say something else. There's tons of other words out there. And the last word that I will say that we're working on is I can't. Actually, there's two more. So I can't. Like, and if you're saying this because you're overwhelmed and like somebody's asking you to do one more thing and you literally just can't, like, that's big. But like, I can't, or I am quitting, that is huge, and that does not set a good example. Because you failed once, you're saying, I can't do it. When I hear kids, you know, they're about to climb on something and they need help, and I'm like, no, you can do it. And they're like, no, I can't. And I'm like, you haven't even tried. Like, don't quit before you try, or don't like doubt yourself before you even try. Like, confidence is huge, and I've talked about this before on my channel, that is one of the hugest things we want to foster in our children, is confidence. And so when I hear these kids that say like, they're like, oh, can you do this for me? And I'm like, you could do it, like try, you know, like it's, and they're like, I can't. And I'm like, have you tried? And they're like, no, I just can't though. And I'm like, that is just heartbreaking to me, the fact that they won't even try. Like, that, like, how could they feel that way? They're young, they have like the whole world in their hands, they're like 3-4 years old, and to say like, I can't, they're not even going to use their brain power to do it, is just not fostering a growth mindset or confidence for children. Like, I just think that saying I can't or I quit is such a negative thing. Unless it's a negative thing that you're quitting, like smoking. I quit smoking. That's amazing. That's something you should do. But, you know, I'm going to quit cooking because I'm not good at it. Absolutely not. That is, you should just never give up. Keep trying. Try different recipes. Try something. But don't ever let those young ears of any age, teenagers even, hear you say you can't or you quit, because that is big. And they're like, well, if you could quit, then I can quit. Or if you can't do it, then I sure as heck can't. Like, no, we're going to try and keep trying until we're successful. That's big. And the other one is using the word stressed. This is one thing that P has like brought to the attention of us, being like, oh, I'm so stressed. Like, I'm just stressing about it. And P's like, actually, I'm not stressed. I'm just a little bit worried about it. Like, it's not like stress is like a huge thing where you're like worried. It's like not a fun thing. You're losing your hair. It's falling out. Like, it's just something you're dreading. That is not the best way to describe it. You could say like, I feel a little bit overwhelmed. I'm feeling worried, but I know it's going to be fine. But like, feeling stressed is something that it sounds negative a lot of the time. So, you know, changing your words to sound positive, or saying what you actually mean instead of overstating something negative is huge. That can change not only your mind and your life, it can change anyone around you. Like if you stop using those words, maybe your significant other, your parents will stop using them. You know, they'll just kind of won't hear them, and it'll make their life better. Or the children, anything. It's huge. What words can do, words have so much meaning. They really do. And I think people don't understand that their words mean something and people will remember what they said. So, be kind, be prideful, and use good words. Change them to be positive so that you can have a positive growth mindset, because that is important for your success. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments down below, let me know. What are words that you want to stop using or have stopped using? I would love to know. Come visit me on Instagram. I want to interact with you. Or Snapchat. I want to get to know you. I want to interact with you. Let me know. Please give me a thumbs up, like if you like. Please subscribe so you don't miss me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!